Okay, yeah, section 5. Prioritized information. So what I thought was most important as we're looking through this uh, is district demographics. I thought the demographics would be vital in decision making and knowing the values and needs of the stakeholders. Knowing what the socioeconomic standards are within the community and just getting a detail of who and what is occurring would be a great development in the planning committee process as we go through. Also, stakeholder involvement. I would prioritize knowing how much stakeholders want to be involved. It must be known what committee members and the community members desire out of the new building and district moving forward the plan. And it's not known what that 47% that did not want the new building had in mind in particular. And certainly there's a small percentage of landowners who were concerned with taxes, leaving a larger group of dissenters to believe that the needs were necessary. The necessary needs were to be met in another way, and that wasn't surveyed. That's not discussed in any matter. There's no cooperation or pieces put forward with that. So I would say Mrs. Potter needs to meet with small groups or individuals who are not vocal within the meeting to get their input and continue what was supposed to be established as norms and guidelines, that everybody would participate in that democratically, looking for a consensus and seeing if the consensus that was ended was really true. I'd say it's also essential to provide a brief but clear overview of the overall ethos of the school. In a statement from Drew, it says that he summarized that our statements must reiterate the values and goals of the overall stakeholder population. So section 6 is my action plan. If I were in the shoes of Mrs. Potter, how would I handle this? So I would gather my team a little bit differently. I would want 4 teachers, 4 parents, and an additional 2 board members. And ideally, this would be one newer to the community, and one older to the community as we're going through. I would also want to establish 3 or 4 satellite teams or groups to gauge some opinions. And these would include staff, parents, students, community members, other people of importance when it comes to developing a community-wide goal. And I would have the satellite groups be led by my committee members. So we'd break up the 10 into 3 or 4 groups and have them kind of lead discussions and input and bring this back to my committee. This would take more time and effort for meetings, so working deliberately in a time-managed manner would increase productivity. So there'd be a bit of a direct approach to saying we're going to do this, but allowing them to gather the information, bring that back. I would also want to set norms first and foremost right away. Unlike Principal Potter, I'd like to make it known that being on the committee would establish that you will be participating in discussions, reviews, drafting, and evaluating the input provided. And a quote from Connor there says, if group norms are abstract, unfamiliar, or do not exist, decisions are rarely achieved through consensus. If we are wanting consensus, I have to have input and participation from all of my stakeholders within the committee, especially. So providing materials and guidance. I would also give them these 3 articles, which we used in the course, or articles that were similar. How to Write a School District Mission Statement by Gardona. I would give them like the 79 examples of a school and vision mission statements, so we can look at those by Drew. And then also school mission statements, the 2021 guide with 6 writing tips by Campen. And that would give a good, solid, fundamental foundation for what we are setting out to achieve by writing our vision statement, our value statements, later on a mission and such. So 2 would be to survey and collect data, something that was not done. I want to survey teachers, students, and parents within the community. And with that collected data, I would want to organize it, kind of separate it out, and then allow my satellite groups to review this, ask questions, get feedback, and discuss it. And again, my satellite group should be made up of teachers, staff, parents, students, and community members. I want to know, is there any discrepancies? Is there any additions that need to be made? Is there something that doesn't hold true to most of the community? We want to look at what this survey data, the opinions, the feelings, the thoughts, the course of actions for all people would want to be. And then I would have my committee members at the end collect the determined 5 to 6 most important values goals set by the satellite group. And so we'd come back together with 15 to maybe 25 total values and goals when they come back to the committee from all the satellite groups. Gathered goals from the satellite group would be brought back, and we can narrow those out as they are, because absolutely some of them, maybe 2 or 3, are probably going to be the same from every satellite group that we're looking through. Step 3 would be the committee evaluating. So first we would review what the top goals are from that broader stakeholder group in the satellite teams, and then we'd compare. I want to compare these against the elementary and secondary school vision statements, value statements that are already in place. What goals do they have that are already here? Because we should continue that. If it's something that is seen in the elementary and the high school, we need to keep that within the middle school, assuming that those are good values and visions. And then, just overall, is there anything from the district that we need to look at that establishes what we do need? Then we should look at to identify what goals we are wanting. So this is a collaboration on that comparison, what's consistent, what is demanded, and to label those out. Okay. And then lastly, we should establish. I would have the committee members leave their top 3 values and goals, each of them. Write those out, leave those, and those would be used for the first drafting. So in drafting that values and vision statement, I would narrow that down a little bit to one of the board members, one chairperson, and myself as the building leader. And we would go through and basically repeat the process that the other group just did. Compare the top 3 of all the members, narrow that down to 10 or less points or statements for the values and visions. And I would want to draft. From that list, accurately identify and summarize each of those statements as a positive success building point. And with those drafted, we could then return back to committee for final review and approvals. So step 5 would be to reevaluate and establish. What we'd be looking at is committee review and discuss the drafted values and vision points by the smaller team, including me. We'd ask the team, to evaluate how this provides for continued development of students, teachers, and community over the course of 5 to 10 years and further. Ask them to compare the needs of the community, socioeconomic, family cares, educational standards, long-term sustainability, projected changes, continued success, readiness, other programs. And then the last thing we do is establish any priorities for the community and stakeholders from those drafts, such as technology changes, appropriate digital citizenship, interactions, equity issues, and diversity, and inclusion needs, and overall community. Step 6, we'd write that vision statement. Working with the reevaluation and determine the pieces from the committee, I would write what is identified as priority for the vision statement. I would make sure there's not more than 5 to 7, 7 being the max of priority in that long-term vision statement. I don't want too many, otherwise it becomes inundated and there's too much to remember, too much to implement, too much to make sure that is well known within the building. And I'd return this statement to the committee, asking each to partner with another member and evaluate the writings and statements, what they felt from those, and suggest any changes. We would adjust any of it by vote, making sure that it was right, and then repeat the process if necessary. And then we take that vote, that democratic approach, to create the final version of the statement and present it to the Board of Education and Superintendent. Step 7 would be to repeat this process for building a mission statements or any other documents that are going to be required, any foundational documents like that. And then number 8, pending approval, we use this to guide also the norms, curriculum, building decisions, program choices, etc., that are necessary to have before the opening of school. Number 9, we'd want to communicate these visions, goals, and mission to the broader stakeholders, the community. And some great ways to do that would be through Board of Education meetings, school schedule meetings, parent nights, emails, social media, mailers, a lot of different ways to go about that. Number 10 would be continuous improvement. I would want to reflect with the committee, taking suggestions, observations for improvement going forward, and establish a future meetings timeline piece. While leading up to the school year, I know this team would meet a lot, but in particular to review vision, values, and mission statements. I think it would be within well mannered to do this at least annually, if not maybe once a semester or twice a year. So, I believe that I have the capacity to lead the improvement process, such as writing a vision mission statement or value statement, as I've begun to develop necessary skills as a team player and leader within these needs. Through EDU 852, I've been able to expose myself to ethical and research leadership characteristics and styles. I've done this through content reading and with interactions with my peers in this course. I've also been able to put much of this into practice in my positions at Bennington High School, as I've served as department chair, building leadership team member, curriculum selection committee, and for the KISA accreditation support teams in my building. These materials, reflections, and practices have provided me with ample opportunities to become exposed to the process moving towards continuous improvement to promote the current and future success of students and adults. Pairing ethical procedure with critical thinking and cooperation with others will allow me to move towards fulfilling the core set of values and priorities that the community I serve would desire. Looking at the pros and cons of evaluating my plan, this is section 7. First, the cons. It'd be very time consuming with surveys, satellite groups, and multiple evaluations. There's a large number of inputs allowed for discrepancies and sidetracking, making it harder to keep groups directed. This also provides a chance for more people to not have input heard, and the longer process to sift through those inputs. But the pros, what I see here, I prioritize stakeholders, their input, demographics, and values, and surveying the community. This makes community first, and I think that is the absolute necessity when we're opening a school. I'd gather opinions missed to find opportunities out of those. I would involve Board of Education members for more seamless transitions, right? If a board member is a part of the writing process, it is likely by the time it makes it to the Board of Education to already have favor. And we compare to the previous works in the district for other buildings that was not done within the other case study. We'd have a faster drafting process with fewer writers after we've taken that input. The focus of future success is emphasized to the groups. Emphasizes cooperation, clear and honest communication, and proper delegation, as is suggested by Tracy. And then provides for multiple checks, input opportunities, and involvement from all members, like what was desired from Principal Potter but never achieved. I believe that my pros outweigh the cons of my process. While it'll be a time-consuming process and a need-assured direction moving toward the goals of the committee, I also take time to study the community. This study, through surveys and satellite groups, will allow for better input of all stakeholders' vision and values as they are used to guide the development of the school's guiding documents and foundations. This gives the best collection of data from the community and stakeholders. This collaboration seeks the future success of the community by allowing the community to guide what they deem as a success with proper drafting and evaluation to ensure clarity of vision and values. It allows for a norm to also be set that the knowledge, skills, and commitments of the stakeholders are heard and valued by the administration, so the best leading principles can be set forth towards the success of all adults and students. This input will develop the proper guiding based on local core values, as well as to integrate the vast needs of changing demographics and equity, diversity, and citizenship. I also wanted to display a mix of steward and servant styles in leadership, mixing transactional and transformational styles with the proper amounts of trust, cooperation, reciprocal service, and the desire for a higher performance. And I have some of those leadership pieces from Christianity 9 to 5. So Section 8 is to develop my plan. Were action steps written specifically and targeted to achieving strategy goals? I believe my action steps were directed at achieving the goal, but I could further into more specific details. Although they do create a developed guideline of events for creating foundational pieces with involvement from as many stakeholders as possible. Step 1 gathers my team, sets norms, gives materials on goal of writing vision, mission, and goal statements. Step 2 surveys the community, collects data. Step 3 gives the first steps of the committee to evaluate what was provided by the broader stakeholder group, the satellite groups, and then to identify what is seen as most important. Step 4 narrows the smaller leadership to draft what we have gathered. Step 5 allows the committee to review the draft and give feedback. Step 6, write the vision statement and present to Board of Education. Step 7, repeat for mission statement. Step 8, use this guide for any other building foundational decisions that must be made. Step 9, communicates documents with the community. And Step 10, provides for continuous review and improvement. Continue Section 8, how will the plan be implemented within the greatest care and attention to concerns of all students and adults? Step 1 allows for multiple leadership groups to be represented, and the teachers, the parents, and the Board of Education members. Having a variety of opinions and statements and perspectives. Step 2 invites direct participation of the community through surveying and meeting with satellite groups and feedback. I detail some more of that, where we go through and we include parents, teachers, and students and community members and what they value. Step 3 to 6 include multiple people from the various leadership groups who are invested in building and district success for all people involved. And that goes into the drafting process. And Step 9 creates lines of communication to community stakeholders. And that also goes to the appropriate technological use, demonstrating digital leadership, digital citizenship, and proper ethical leadership through digital platforms. Step 10 creates a continuous review and improvement plan to ensure the further success and continued success. This particular process and review can be used to assure the proper curriculum decisions, assessment opportunities, and data collection and the data collection and use are always being provided and made within the building and district. Section 9 is implementation. What would I include? So we're looking at how did I implement the plan to promote current and future success by applying skills, knowledge, and commitments necessary to design, lead, implement a school mission or vision statements with core values and priorities. So I'd say, as for what I will include is community inputs and data collection from surveys, getting diverse views and values. I would also include diverse populations and stakeholders in the development process, as I've laid out with my satellite groups, my committee group, my drafting group. Culture and environment. This is a huge one to me. The decisions are based on values and goals and norms, and ultimately the need of the community to create a positive and healthy environment. I really think environment is utmost when you are wanting to implement and build a proper educational facility. Materials for the committee. Materials were given out, and that prepped us to have a good professional and personal development leading into the writing of mission vision statements. I'd also include hard guidelines and norms. My plan would be will be for cooperative stakeholder participation, and to me that builds trust coming in that I'm not going to change, I'm not going to do, but this is from you. And it will be common to use the input and data from many different sources of involvement, all stakeholders, all perspectives. Time and continuation would be included, making sure that we have those annual reviews and regular leadership meetings where we use this process maybe to draft other things that are necessary. And also communication, open, honest communication, which is also one of the norms that I would want to make, will be direct and absolute necessary in continuing the success of students and adults within the community and stakeholder population. So Section 10 is program standard integration. These are my statements as to development of different pieces of how I've used in this case study, in this course, and in my future work. So this is my written statement on how the completed case study correlates to PLO 1. Through this case study, I've been able to demonstrate what I am capable of that I am capable of meeting the standards for PLO1, a work to demonstrate my capacity to promote current and future success of students and adults. To do this, I provide my knowledge and skills to formulate the evaluation and plans describing the importance of including all stakeholders of a community, including the students, teachers, staff, and administration, as well as the parents and members of the community in general. In my plan, I detail steps to demonstrate the creation of norms, ethical decision making, and collaborative development of visions, values, and mission statements, including stakeholders, providing for diversity and equity, establishing a core set of values centered around data use, technology, and citizenship will help create a trust of the stakeholder community, which will keep communication and interactions open and provide opportunity for continuous improvement. The second part for the standard integration is how this assignment was relevant to the current learning. And I'd say that throughout this course and in this case study, my assignments have been relevant to the learning and learning necessary to be a successful building leader. In these assignments, I've been able to develop an understanding of well-written vision and mission statements, multiple leadership styles, the actions of an ethical leader and team member, how to incorporate ethics into those mission and vision statements, the process of ethical decision-making, creating and implementing professional student norms, as well as enhancing the ability to reflect on my own work through peer supports and communication. This all helps with my current work as a classroom teacher, as I'm able to make vision, mission, and goals all more applicable to the content I provide in my room, making that linkage. And it will also enable me to act ethically, incorporate proper norms for myself and students, and reflect on my own practice while giving credible and constructive feedback to students. The last portion here is about a written statement for how this assignment will impact my future as a building principal. Throughout this course and in this case study, I've been able to implement the content knowledge I've gained into practice as if I was a building leader. I was able to evaluate the work that the principal Potter put into the start of the vision and value statement through her committee work. I was able to effectively critique what could be improved on. Then I was able to place myself in the situation, apply my content knowledge, and practice creating an effective action plan for improving this process. As a building administrator, I will know how to review, how to more effectively include stakeholders and cooperate with them in the review and continuous improvement procedures that are necessary for leading educational environment. It has demonstrated to me the importance of using data, technology, diversity, equity, and digital citizenship in an ethical manner within the community and interactions. It has also demonstrated to me that I must do my best to include the stakeholders in first teaching me their values and goals before attempting to change, adapt, or create any foundational documents like a vision statement. Having the input and data from the community will always be my first priority, and I venture into the role of building leader. This will continue to include needs for professional norms and effective communication interactions. All of these pieces from the case study and assignments will help me to achieve the current and future success of students and adults in my building. And these are my APA references that I use throughout the course and within directly of this assignment, this case study. So thank you very much.